Okay, we've been talking about the Biggie Smalls case lately, and we saw that whole thing erupt between Eugene Deal, and we saw the witness intimidation that was going on with Reggie Wright Jr. and Greg Kading. And I wanted to bring up a couple of other points, and I'd like to go through some of the other evidence. You know, on the Arsenio Hall Show, Faith Evans came on to Arsenio Hall Show, and she said, we just basically stopped spending our money on trying to hope that the LAPD was going to do their part. She said it's not closed. It's just a matter of when they really feel they want to do the right thing, because we in our hearts feel that we know what happened and we believe they know what happened. And then she said, will probably be the biggest case in the city history. They don't feel good about possibly having to write a check that big. But for us, it's not about that. We spent millions of dollars on lawyers' fees. We've never gotten anything from it. It's more about trying to do what's right for his son, for his family, for his loved ones, and for his kids. We've definitely gotten to a point where we realize that it's a possibility that might never happen, and it's really sad. She said also in a TMZ interview that LAPD knows who killed Biggie, and she knows who killed Biggie. And so they've gotten to that point where they realize that LAPD is going to continue to cover up this case. And now I want to dig into Clayton Hill. Now, Clayton Hill claims to have disposed of the gun in the notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls murder. And here are some quotes directly from him. I told Dawood Muhammad that I had instructions to collect some property from him. He must have been given the same instructions, because he didn't hesitate or show any signs of doubt as he bent over and removed a trash liner out of a waste can and handed it to me to hold open. He reached into the duffel bag he brought with him and pulled out a semi-automatic handgun that could have been a 9mm or a .40 caliber wrapped in a white undershirt. Carefully, he placed it into the trash bag, making sure his hands never touched any of the exposed parts of the gun. Dawood Muhammad came on a Greyhound bus to Atlanta, and Clayton Hill picked him up. And when he picked him up, he was told that the brothers up at number 12 are expecting me, and that was referring to Mosque number 12, the home of the Black Mafia, and this is all Nation of Islam stuff. So he disclosed, this is another quote from Clayton, he disclosed that he was the shooter of the notorious B.I.G. because Dawood was a former Blood gang member and was paid to do so. Another quote, I have looked at the pics, and although I cannot say conclusively and with absolute certainty because that was 14 years ago, Amir Muhammad looks like the person who used the name Dawood. So this basically is one more clue to us. Another direct quote from Clayton Hill. Dawood Muhammad stated to me that he was on the run for the murder of the notorious B.I.G. Dawood also bragged to him, saying, and I made 25 G's off that, meaning the hit. Hill also, in his book, wrote, I've looked at the pics in the mag, and although I cannot say conclusively with absolute certainty because it was 14 years, Amir Muhammad looks like the person who used the name Dawood. So also Clayton Hill says a member from LA wouldn't know a member from Atlanta, so you wouldn't completely trust them. Also, consider that the Nation of Islam is a paramilitary organization and all members do as instructed. So if he or I were told by someone to give a false name as a precaution, then he would, and it would be accepted without question. Another quote, somebody in Chicago wanted that weapon. Who wanted it? I can't say for sure, but whoever wanted it had to be high-ranking. And Hill goes also on to explain that all of this would have been shielded from Minister Farrakhan, so it's quite possible that he wouldn't have known anything about this. And this is exactly what he says, another quote, I doubt if Minister Farrakhan knew anything, he would have been insulated from that. So let's dig into a little bit about who Clayton Hill is. He also writes, 4 years ago in 2006, I created a scheme to file false tax returns on debit cards and withdraw the proceeds from ATMs all over the city. I filed 122 tax returns, and according to the government, I netted a little over $300,000. The government went after my wife to get at me. She was 3 floors below me in the MCC on the 12th floor and been incarcerated as long as I had. Because we had a 2-year-old daughter who was being passed from family friend to family friend, I made a decision to proffer against myself so that Tamara, my wife, could get a reduced sentence and get back to her daughter. In 2013, Clayton Hill escaped from federal prison. So I haven't been able to find anything on whether or not he was actually caught after escaping. But it is interesting to note that he did escape from prison. And, you know, he probably had the same kind of people that were access to the same kind of people that Dawood Muhammad had, you know, which we believe could be Amir Muhammad. And he believed it was Amir Muhammad, even though he didn't make a positive ID. Now, keep in mind, we're not going to get the smoking gun that says, you know, here is the killer and what have you, but we have quite a bit of circumstantial evidence in this case. We have Rafael Perez on duty at the time, working for LAPD, and at the scene of the Peterson Automotive Museum. People placed him there. We have David Mack, who's placed at the Peterson Automotive Museum. We have David Mack and Amir Muhammad, who are very good friends, and they were literally running buddies when they were in Oregon, when they're in college, and they hang out together. And we have Amir Muhammad, who is the first person to visit David Mack after he gets arrested for a bank robbery. So the circumstantial evidence is definitely piling up, and it's looking like Russell Poole solved these cases while he was alive. More later.